now we can begin looking at energy building exercises. So to start, we'll start with just self energy building exercises. So all that really means is those exercises you can do on your own that don't require other people to participate. Now, there is this perception out there about doing energy building stuff with watches. Well, that's a matter of choice. I personally have chosen not to wear mine for these exercises. I'm still wearing the ring because I choose to do so, but there's no reason that I can't. It is purely a matter of personal choice whether I decide to do that or not. So don't get caught up in some of the other ideas that you've seen out there. Now, with a lot of energy building exercises, there's also other misinterpretations, the most common of which is this idea that you need to rub your hands together. Well, you don't. In point of fact, what you're doing is you're actually destroying the skin on the palms of your hands to get energy moving. Well, anytime I do any kind of damage to my body, it's going to get the energy moving there because it's trying to heal it. So to damage the palms of my hands, yeah, I'm going to feel tingles and heat and all these other sensations because I've damaged them. And I don't recommend doing that. To really build your energy, that's actually anti-productive. It's counterproductive because you're not really going to be building your energy. You're just using what's already there. If you want to feel it, well, that's one thing, but we're trying to grow it and develop it. And so that's just not a good way to begin. But to begin, let's go into the most known and commonly used exercise to even feeling and developing your own energy, which is just a simple technique that take your hands and put them apart, about say shoulder width apart or whatever, and feeling the energy, just bring them together. You should feel some sensation, typically like pressure or tingles or heat. You may even be going and all of a sudden your hands just flop together like there's a void. That's all perfectly natural and fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what we're doing to build energy, that's good for feeling it, but to build it, what we want to do is we want to use that energy actively. What we want to do is imagine our energy being squished and pulled. Now, we should feel that probably in our entire chest, but ideally you want it through your whole body. But if you can start with just the chest, that's fine. So that's all you're doing is just pushing and stretching. And if you can feel like a constriction and a release, that's fine. That's what you're hoping for. It's all you're really doing is just a very basic muscle stretching and releasing technique. Now, you can do that any which way you want. I mean, you can have your hands one on top of the other. Here, my hands here up high for demonstration. Ideally, I'd want it closer to a comfortable position, closer to my lap. And then I would just bring the hands together, up and down. I can also use the points of my fingers if I want to go very more specific, doing the same basic idea. The whole hands, you're going to get more workout, but the fingers is good for play. And while you're doing that, you certainly can always try and develop some other talents, like your vision, for example. If I'm sitting there focusing between my fingertips, I can maybe see something. I might be able to pick up like things like the aura, or there might be like little sparks of energy flying back and forth. Now, remember, static electricity does exist, and in the right conditions, if I do that, I could jump a little static spark, and that's not really what we're looking for, but just to let you know that it can happen. So that's all we're doing really, is just trying to get the energy moving and flowing, getting it used, and that's it for self-building on that variety. The next one is a little more in-depth, and for most people takes a little bit more to actually feel something, to do something. And it's a simple basic flow technique. Energy is one of those things that should never ever stop. It should never ever be stationary because it reacts pretty much like water. If you leave water out and don't do anything with it, it just sits there, it stagnates like a swamp. And that's not what we want our energy to do. We want fresh, clean, flowing energy, and well, we need it to flow. So this is a great technique to build flow because that's really all we're doing, is we're just letting it flow through us. Now, to do that, I myself, when I usually do it, I do it like watching the TV, or if I'm just sitting back doing nothing. And you can do it simply, like just placing your hands comfortably beside you and closing your eyes, almost like a meditation. Or my more preferable one is just cross your hands in front of you and just place them on your chest, just under your throat, right? Not necessarily on the heart, but above it. And you're just sitting there, even with your eyes closed, like I said, and just let the energy course through your body. Let it flow everywhere, out your hands. Now, energy can be drawn in as well, and I recommend doing that. Don't just let it trickle in through the top of your head, bring it in everywhere. So if I'm sitting there doing that, I can let the energy just flow and build and flow and build. And that's what I'm doing. I'm getting those muscles a really good, powerful, strong workout because I'm dealing with the whole system. And that's what you want. You want it to be flowing into your hair, your toenails, your feet, your arms, your skin, everything. Everything that's around you, let that energy flow into. And just let it flow. I mean, that's the key element, right? Now, as you get better using it, as you get some experience with it, it's going to feel more powerful and it's going to get stronger. But in the beginning, it may just feel like you're not doing much. And if at the end of the day, you feel nice and relaxed and calm and energized, well, that's kind of what you want to do. That's the whole point. Is just that, to get the energy moving, which is what you should feel when you get it moving, is relaxed, because it's going to be not only just flowing, but it's also going to help clean out the system. It's like taking stagnant water and dumping fresh water in constantly. It slowly cleans. So that's also great for just cleaning your energy, just as long as it's flowing in and out. If you're just flowing it through you, that's good for development. But if you want to do the cleansing side, let it flow out as well. And for most people, that's easier just letting it flow out the feet, because that's our connection to the world around us. That's where we effectively ground from anyway, so it's not unreasonable to do that. It should flow in and out like air through every part of your body, but you can focus on a specific location and intent if that's what you desire. Now, the next one is a little more in-depth, and it uses energy in a much more structured and defined way. And what you're doing is you're basically just turning it into something. So you want to start just sort of whatever little hand flourish you want, or just hold your hand up and imagine there's energy in there. You can make it into any form. It can be like molasses or cotton candy, or like just wisps, whatever you want. But what you want to do is you want to take that energy and mold it into something, into a shape, into a color, a texture. You could have it as a prickly blue ball, whatever you want. But the idea is to turn it into something simple. Don't get too complicated. Don't go for like a cat, or like that's too much. But something just like a simple triangle, simple pyramid, even associating with triangle, the ball, the square, simple things. You can, like I said, go for color. You can have rough, smooth, slimy, and those are the ways that it's best used. Now, as an example, I'm going to put one up and see if you can see what it is or feel what it is. I'm not sure that it'll relate through video media, but it's worth an attempt, right? We really don't know. So I'm going to hold something up. Right now it's nothing. I'm going to mold it and shape it into something. Okay, now it's in a shape. I'm going to add a color. Okay, there we go. So I've got a shape and a color in my hand at the moment, at least to the best of my intent, because I don't see, I feel. And what I've done is I've created a blue square. So if you feel blue, square, or either or, then there's some talent there, and it obviously translated through the video media. So practice with that. Just use whatever. It doesn't matter if others can see it or you can see it. It's just more an intent event. It's more about practice than success or failure. So don't worry if it doesn't feel right. Now, you can take that one step further and, say, make little psychic balls, if you will, filled with an intent, an emotion, for example. Now, I do recommend being careful with that, because you don't want to go throwing around negativity and negative emotions and stuff. If you're going to do something like that, you know, think of it like throwing snowballs at people, right? Now, it's one thing to throw a soft packed snowball. It's another to throw an ice ball. It's another to throw a snowball with a rock in it. We don't want to do that unless we really intend to hurt somebody. So the intent is the same, just to put something in it, like happiness, joy, contentment, relaxations. Go with those kind of things, because they're much better and much more helpful in your life and in everyone else's. And you can toss them at people. You know, don't always have to know you're doing it, and don't go for these big mind-altering snowballs of energy. Just little things, just little attempts, right? And again, it's not the success or failure that matters. All you're doing is building trust. You're building a sense of being able to work with energy and make it do something for you. So those are the basics. Of course, come up with some of your own, but that's the basics for self. Next, we'll get into ones you can do with a group of people. See you then.